Spanning vast, sun-scorched landscapes, the Sahara Desert is one of the most extreme and enigmatic places on Earth. With its relentless heat, shifting sands, and near-total lack of water, survival here is a challenge few can endure. Yet, beneath its dunes and rocky expanses, this desolate land has hidden some of the most astonishing and perplexing discoveries ever made. From lost civilizations to bizarre artifacts and unexplained mysteries, the Sahara holds secrets that continue to defy explanation. Get ready to uncover 10 of the strangest things ever found in the Sahara Desert. As everyone knows, there is water in the Sahara Desert, but not all of it is something you would want to drink or even go near. One such example is this place, the largest salt lake in the Sahara Desert, but it might also be the biggest salt lake in all of Africa. It just really depends on who it is that you talk to. It's almost twice as large as the Great Salt Lake that you'll find in Utah, which should highlight just how big of a lake I'm talking about. And this place, including the nearby town, which is the gateway to the Sahara, has been used in all kinds of movies over the years because of its oddly picturesque location. And if you don't believe me, even the Star Wars films have been shot here. So now you know where Tatooine is on Earth. You are very welcome. If one were to drive by the area around the lake, you would be amazed at all of the colors that you would see, and the rainbows that catch your eye. So while it may be one of the most inhospitable places to be within Africa, there's also a beauty here that simply cannot be ignored. It's been a while since I've talked about fossils, so how about I show you one from not a whale, but a crocodile. It doesn't sound so bad at first, as places like Egypt are known for their crocs, especially the Nile crocodile. But this one that I'm going to talk about is absolutely massive compared to the crocodiles of today. This croc would have been just under 10 meters long, which may explain why it was named Machimosaurus Rex. Between its bulk and its long snout, it's believed to have been the biggest crocodile to have ever lived in the oceans. That's right. This was an ocean-dwelling croc, and I hate to think about how effective it was in the water. The belief is that this particular croc lived in an ocean that had once divided Africa and Europe, and it likely was one of the apex predators. It's so big, in fact, that even the skeleton of the beast is said to have been taller than the average human being. Thankfully, these kinds of crocs are not around today, but they can still get pretty big, and you still wouldn't want to mess with them. Here's another place where ancient rock art was found. It's almost as if the ancient peoples of the world wanted us to find the stuff, or maybe they just liked drawing. The Cave of Swimmers is found in Libya. It's believed to have been drawn at least at the beginning of around 10,000 years ago, and if you're curious, the reason that it's called the Cave of Swimmers is because of some of the depictions of humans in the cave. They're drawn in such a way that it looks as though they're actually swimming, but they aren't alone. They also have pictures of various animals in the place, which includes hippos and giraffes. It may seem weird that people would draw something like this in a cave, but you have to remember that back then, they didn't have communication methods as we do now. This was their way of not only speaking in some ways, but also writing down their own history. Plus, the swimming and the animals could have meant something special or important to the one who drew it. We as a people may never actually know, but what we can do is analyze these places and find out what history has to show us. Depending on who you might ask, Timbuktu is either one of the weirdest places that you can go to, or one of the most historically relevant places in all of Africa. For me, whenever I was a child and I asked my mother where we were going, she would always say Timbuktu in a way of trolling me in such a way that made me upset and never want to go anywhere. For people in modern culture, the word Timbuktu is meant to reference a place that is so far away that you can't easily get there, and that's what you hear the word being used more as slang versus the great history that it had been in its golden years. So to find out what this place is in the Sahara Desert, well, it's curious. Because you would think that something like this would not have thrived, let alone survive the day, and yet, here we are. The true history of Timbuktu can be tied to multiple people and empires, with the biggest one being the Mali Empire. It was here that the city was a major trade area due to all the routes that were happening in and around it, and then it became one of the biggest learning areas of the world, including a place with a thriving book trade. Eventually, it fell into decline, and not what it used to be, but it is another UNESCO World Heritage Site, which means that it will be preserved for more people to learn about over time. In the remote Sahara Desert, an unexpected archaeological discovery has left experts worldwide perplexed. The object, soon dubbed the Caracum relic, was found by a group of researchers studying ancient nomadic civilizations of North Africa. The artifact, made of a material similar to polished stone, has a surprisingly familiar shape. It bears a striking resemblance to a modern cell phone. However, its surface is covered with carved symbols that resemble ancient Mesopotamian hieroglyphs. The discovery was made when one of the researchers, Russian archaeologist Dmitry Volkov, unearthed a small underground chamber near the ruins of an ancient settlement. Initially, it was thought to be an ordinary piece of pottery, but as the team cleared away centuries of accumulated dust and sediment, they realized there was something truly special about the object's structure. With about 15 carved buttons and a small upper screen with enigmatic inscriptions, the relic appeared to be a communication device that should never have existed in such a distant era. The team immediately sent the artifact for analysis at a carbon dating laboratory. The results were astonishing. The object was approximately 2,800 years old. This indicated that it had been created by a very ancient civilization, one that somehow possessed advanced technical knowledge sophisticated enough to produce something so similar to a phone. The symbols engraved on the relic were among the most intriguing aspects of the discovery. Experts in ancient languages stated that the characters resembled a fusion of Sumerian cuneiform writing and Egyptian symbols. This sparked various theories among archaeologists and historians. Some believe it may have been a ritualistic object, representing a means of communication between priests and deities. Others suggest it could have been a rudimentary form of an abacus, used for important calculations in rituals or trade. However, the most intriguing theory came from an independent historian, the French scholar Alain Moreau. According to him, the Caracum relic could be evidence of a lost technological knowledge, possibly influenced by cultures we do not yet fully understand. He argues that the resemblance to a modern phone is not a coincidence, but rather a reflection of a type of advancement that was either forgotten or deliberately hidden over time. Of course, the discovery also sparked a wave of bolder theories. Some enthusiasts of ancient mysteries suggest that the object could be evidence of extraterrestrial contact or even an indication that advanced civilizations existed far earlier than we currently believe. However, the scientific community remains cautious, stating that further study is required before drawing any definitive conclusions. The Caracum relic is currently under analysis at a museum specializing in archaeological discoveries in Tunis, the capital of Tunisia. Researchers continue to attempt to decipher the engraved symbols and understand the true function of the object. One of the latest hypotheses suggests that it might have been used to record commercial transactions, functioning as a primitive calculator or record-keeping table. Regardless of its true origin, the discovery of the Caracum relic raises many questions about humanity's past. How many technologies have been lost over the centuries? Is our understanding of ancient civilizations incomplete? And, most importantly, are there other discoveries as astonishing as this one still waiting to be unearthed beneath the desert sands? For now, the relic remains a fascinating mystery, challenging everything we know about the past and opening the door to new and exciting theories. Whether it was a religious artifact, a mathematical instrument, or a technological enigma, one thing is certain: the Caracum relic proves that humanity's history still holds many secrets waiting to be revealed. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Now, I showed you the desert center before, but what about one of its eyes? In the western part of the desert, you're going to find a natural rock formation that's called the Eye of the Sahara, because when you look at it from above, it really does appear to be like an eyeball. Oh, and it's big enough to be seen from high up, as the base of the formation is 50 kilometers wide. Obviously, it's not something you would expect to find in a desert. So what actually caused it to be formed? There have been a lot of theories, including one about Atlantis, believe it or not, but science eventually came through in the end. Scientists now know it to be an uplifted geologic dome, characterized by layers of sedimentary rocks that had been exposed over millions of years by wind and water and erosion. That's important for scientific reasons because, not unlike tree rings, the layers of this rock can expose what the Earth was like the further back in time you want to check out. So, while it might just look like a cool formation that pops out of the desert, it's actually something that is so much more unique. Welcome to another UNESCO World Heritage Site. a one that has a great importance to both science and history as a whole, because there are a large amount of rock art within this place. More than 15,000 drawings and engravings record the climatic changes, the animal migrations, and the evolution of human life on the edge of the Sahara from about 6000 BC to the first centuries of the present era. There's all kinds of reasons why that's cool. First of all, drawings like this help to paint a more clear picture of what life was like in the desert and beyond. After all, based on the images, there were not only groups of people living here, but herds of animals that they hunted and more. By studying things, we gain even more insight into the past to figure out how things got to where they are now. Nobody knows or has the clearest picture of history in Africa, and so finding more locations like this will help to fill in the gaps. Now at first you may think that I'm about to pull the rug out from under you once again with some kind of nonsense, but that's not the case here, I promise. There is a place in the Sahara known as Wadi al-Hatan, which translates to the Valley of the Whales. Its name, if not obvious, is in reference to the numerous whale fossils that have been located there over the years. So many have been found that the place is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, so they clearly see the value in everything that's happened there. But the thing I'm going to focus on is that there have been numerous full skeletons that have been found in the area that showcase that many millions of years ago, there were actually walking whales. Seriously, there are numerous fossils, and some of those have been found with their stomachs intact. That doesn't happen very often in the fossil world. Going back to the walking part, scientists for a long time had pondered how it was even possible for whales to have evolved the way that they did. And now we seem to have that answer via these missing links. Not only does that repaint our visuals of whales from the past, but of the Sahara Desert once upon a time. If there were so many of these walking whales in the area, that means that this part of the Sahara, that is near to Cairo for the record, must have been a much more hospitable place to live. It would have had more water sources, plants for the giant whales to eat, and more. And then over time, the land began to shift, and this branch of whales died out. So the species as a whole slowly went into the oceans to live. Now personally, I think they made the right call, because it's just way too hot to live in the desert. But it also raises a question of what other bones may be found out there. While this is one of the stranger things on the list, I also think that it's one of the coolest because of what it may imply. Picture this. You're going through the desert in a vehicle when all of a sudden your tires hit something that make a scrunching sound. Sand and stone don't really sound like that, so then you stop and get out, only to find yourself standing on glass. Now, sand is something that can be made into glass, but not via the passage of time or simply having large sums of it together. Or else the Sahara Desert and every other desert like it would just be a massive sheet of glass. So then, what is it that's going on here? Well, that's the weird and quite cool part of all of this. Libyan desert glass is made by the impact of meteorites. That's right, the heat that meteors from space create when they hit the desert sand is so strong it basically turns them into instant glass. So to give you some further context, one analysis claims that the heat that's required to make this kind of glass like this in such an area and in such a fast way would be like dropping a nuclear bomb in the desert, and we all know they didn't do that in the past for obvious reasons. Furthermore, there are many who feel that some of this glass is actually millions of years old, which would have only meant that something from outer space impacting the desert sands would have caused it. It's crazy to think about, but we do know that meteorites can hit just about anywhere on the planet, and sites with this glass have been revealed to be within what appears to be impact craters. And so space may have accidentally given us one of the more rare substances on Earth. I'm going to begin with a basic one, as there are multiple countries that are enveloped within the place that we call the Sahara Desert, and many of those places at one point in time had pyramids. So naturally, some of these are going to be found within the desert sands, and that includes the pyramids of Meroe. Now, if you don't know, this place is located in the Sudan, and when these particular pyramids were discovered, they became quite the sight. Some even state that they were some of the most magnificent pyramids that were ever found. So you may be thinking that this is the result of the Egyptians, as they were the ones that were most tied to the pyramid-like structure, but here it's not actually the case. Instead, these were made by the Kingdom of Kush during that period of time, and they were once a very wealthy and powerful empire. Now, allow me to help you get a mental picture for how different the pyramids were. These were built of granite and sandstone in the Nubian style, with small bases and steep slopes that were between 6 and 30 meters in height, in contrast with the colossal pyramids of Giza, which are nearly 5 times as high. It's actually because of the desert and its sands that these pyramids remain so well intact today, and that doesn't even talk about how important they are historically. Oh, and they're also a huge tourist attraction in Sudan, so that helps. So then what's so weird about these pyramids? You may be asking. Well, you might have pondered, how did these pyramids get lost in the first place? That's because the sands of the desert, whether it be in Egypt, Sudan, or somewhere else, shift around all the time, meaning that the pyramids were literally buried in the sand, and only the local people knew where to find them. They couldn't dig them up, and so when archaeologists were able to bring them back to the surface, it became a big deal. We should all be grateful that these incredible relics of the past are here now for everyone to see. Now, you've all heard about the center of the Earth. Well, allow me to take that phrase and use it for my own advantage by showing you the almost literal center of the Sahara. It's known as Wa'an Namas, a volcano in Libya. The reason that this is such a strange place or entity is rather simple. It's a literal desert oasis that's found in an equally literal volcano crater. Wa'an Namas volcanic field is about 4 kilometers wide and surrounded by a 10 to 20 kilometer wide dark black deposit of ash that stands out starkly against the yellowish desert. So if you were to get close to this place, you absolutely could not miss it. Here's an equally strange thing though. The name Wa'an Namas translates to the crater of the mosquitoes. Yes, that is its real name. It's also literal in its meaning. The lakes that fill up this oasis are a haven for mosquitoes, meaning that whether you're in a regular place or the desert, you just can't get away from these blood-sucking bugs. The good news is that if you're ever to wander into the place and don't mind getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, you can drink the water there. Unlike the salt lakes that are nearby, this has a freshwater area. It leads many to believe that it's a vital place along caravan routes in the old days, where people would rest on long journeys and have a sip of water before heading out once again on their camels. The photos of the place are absolutely beautiful, and while nobody can say, go and check it out, if you do happen to visit there, it may be worth quite the hot and stinging trip. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and enjoy watching new videos on my channel. Thanks for watching and see you soon.